You're listening to the Cinemental Podcast.
Shall we begin?
Welcome back to the Cinemental Podcast, where we discuss mental health themes from cinema, television, and popular culture. I'm Jeffrey Jones, and I'm a filmmaker and professor, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother, Dr. Joshua Jones, who is definitely in my tribe of mean girls, and he's also a general and forensic psychiatrist.
Jeff, you're so fetched today.
Oh, thanks, man.
You are
Thanks,
smooth,
you are
like,
smooth
butter,
like butter, straight to the bone. This is some hot tent. We're gonna put out some hot tent today, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fresh, and at the end of it, I think we'll just be able to say,
Yeah. Totally
okay.
wheat. It's totally wheat.
We're making fun of ourselves because we covered all the different fetch words in our lives from the Monday episode. I had an assistant who told me that her friends tried to make quiche a thing. And dude, I could see that. I could see it being like, that's so quiche. That's so quiche. Quiche is the kind of word that would totally catch on among, like, alpha
Yeah,
girls.
maybe, because it sounds like, oh, that's key. Like, that's key to your survival. Or, yeah, maybe.
Anyway, never caught on. That was their fetch, but I was like, oh, I actually kind of like quiche. Okay, so today's episode, we're continuing our coverage of Mean Girls, and we're going to talk at length about bullying. We're going to talk about what parents can do about it. We're going to talk about the changing nature of it, given social media, all things bullying we're going to talk about here. Josh, I did forget to talk about this on Monday, so I just want to crank it out right now, but I want to talk about the changing nature of comedy. So this is a little bit more of a screenwriter thing. I watched the new Mean Girls, and what was really fascinating about it, because it did not do well, I watched the new Mean Girls, and they didn't change anything. They just added songs. They added songs, took out some scenes, and kept the dialogue pretty much the same.
Really?
Yeah, and it really fell flat. And it's interesting because I watched Mean Girls, I think, with the nostalgia of it being from 2004, but the jokes just didn't land when people were saying it through the lens of being in the 2020s. And this is less of a theory. I think that this is just a real thing, but I'm going to share it with you. This is a screenwriting thing. It used to be more common for comedy to come from jokes. And, it was a setup, punchline sort of thing. Modern comedy does better if it comes from character. And I'll give you a perfect example. So one of the characters that she meets at the beginning is Damien. And they have the line, he's too gay to function. Just let him be too gay to function. Just let the comedy come from him being super duper gay. You don't need to say that. You need to just show him doing that. Kramer was a great, funny character because his comedy came from character. It didn't come from jokes. He ran into the room and it was funny. You didn't need to say, there's our room runner. Like, you didn't need to point out the things that he did. He just was funny. He was a funny character. And so you had these really great characters. You didn't need to have the setup punchline kind of jokes. And it's funny because it's a very Tina Fey thing. She was obviously like massive back in the 30 Rock days, and I think she wrote Mean Girls.
She did, yeah.
But her comedy is not doing well now because she hasn't changed and evolved with the times. And I think comedy works much better now when it comes from character and not from jokes. And so I think that that's just an interesting thing to kind of pay attention to, is like, what are we finding funny now? And it's much more people just being a character than set up punchline.
It's interesting you highlight that, Jeff, because I have really liked Tina Fey throughout her career, and I watched every episode of 30 Rock. In fact, I think 30 Rock was one of the first shows that I watched and binged on Netflix when Netflix became, kind of the first big streaming service. And I found it hilarious. They had some great characters. Yeah. A couple years ago, my daughter and I were looking for a series to watch, I think after we finished The Office. And I'm like, oh, let's try 30 Rock. So we sat down to watch it together, and it fell flat for us. We didn't make it through just a few episodes. Even rewatching it, I'm like, a lot of this comedy is pretty cringe, pretty dated, and my daughter just wasn't interested in it. And she's like, she pointed out, Dad, this heroine is really self-loathing. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't that funny. So we stopped watching it.
And you can do self-loathing comedy. I think it needs to be a little bit more self-aware than 30 Rock does.
Yeah.
Like, pull us in emotionally.
Yeah.
I just watched the movie Eddington, and it's a hard drama that's really fun. And so much of the comedy comes from the ridiculousness of the characters. It comes from the characters. They're not trying to be funny, quote unquote, with jokes. It's just these ridiculous characters do funny things. And there's this wonderful convergence right now of drama and comedy where we can laugh at the same time as cry. And it's a really beautiful time, I think, in movie making. And you see this a lot in A24 films. That Unicorn movie they just made did a pretty good job of it. It's a really fun time. People are going to crap on superhero movies and say there's too many superhero movies. Sure. Throw out the movies that you don't love and pay attention to the ones that you do. There's a lot of really good film being made right now. Is the totality bad? Man, I don't know. I don't pay attention to it. I just find the good stuff. I just find the stuff that I think is good. And the really good stuff, I think right now, like there's some just amazing, amazing stories being told. And it's this convergence of drama and comedy through character.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay. So that's all I have to say about the nature of comedy. I'm going to talk about that in my one thing as a deeper dive, but I'll talk about, the changing nature of comedy, and the comparison between the two Mean Girls. Let's talk about bullying, Josh. We talked about bullying before when we did the adolescence episode. And we talked about things that kids could do to avoid getting bullied. And I think what I have grown to realize is that I think it really does begin and end with the parents. Bullying's not going to stop. We have to prepare our kids better, and we have to be more involved. Do we just want to agree to that and end the podcast, or do we have more to talk about?
We have more to talk about. As a parent, you are your child's most important role model. And look, there's lots of non-traditional families in which other people besides the biologic parents have taken on the parent role. I'm talking to you as well. You are the ones to help the kids make a difference. Because as we talked about in Monday's episode, it may be that you get a group of humans together and the easiest way forward is to get that quick dopamine hit of bullying somebody if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling unsafe. So there are things that parents can do. And I'm going to give you 5 of them, Jeff. You can maintain open and honest communication with your kid. This is easier said than done, but be interested in their day. Be genuinely interested in their day. How do things go with their relationships with their friends, with their brothers and sisters, with their schoolmates? Be open and honest. There may be topics in your family that you consider to be off limits because of your social or religious background. I would encourage you to challenge that as best you can, because your kids are going to be talking about those things to somebody. Wouldn't you rather it be you?
I think that's hugely important. And I think part of that is you got to cultivate the openness. And part of it is when you shut stuff down as a parent that your kid wants to talk about, there isn't a safety to bring up more things that might be uncomfortable. If you don't talk about the things that are uncomfortable, and if you don't make room for the things that might make you uncomfortable, they're not going to bring other things to you. You made the point last episode, and I think you're going to make the point today. It's not your job to be your kid's best friend. It's going to behoove you to be a safe space to bring things up, even if they make you uncomfortable, and especially if they're things that you don't want your kid to do, but you're giving them the room to be honest with you. Obviously there need to be consequences for actions, but if the consequences are so severe that it makes more sense for a kid to hide it from you, that's a choice that you're going to have to figure out for yourself.
Yeah, that's very well said. I mean, as I said on Monday, you are not your child's friend. You're just not. Not only is it not your job to be your child's friend, it is your job not to be your child's friend.
Yeah.
You can be friendly.
Yeah. Do you think it's fair to say though that you're not your child's friend, but you are your child's ally?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Is that,
yeah, you should put that on a t-shirt.
I was thinking of my wife tells me this story, and I think it's amazing. And I'm going to do this with my kids for sure. But they had a code word for when they wanted to get out of something and they wanted their parent to be the bad guy. And I just thought that was amazing. So if it was if they didn't want to stay at a sleepover, they would call and be like, mother, and mother was the code word. And it'd be like, blah, blah, blah. And then, my mother-in-law would say something like, you know what, you didn't do the dishes and I told you had to, or you wouldn't be able to do the sleepover. So I'm coming over to get you and blah, blah. And so she would be the bad guy and, kind of get the kid out of trouble. I think that's so brilliant. That's such a good way of being an ally, and building that trust and whatnot. I think that's great. I just like code words. Code words are cool.
We made the deal with our kids, and we made it with them long ago that, look, we obviously don't want you to use drugs and alcohol. But if you find yourself in a situation in which you are not
You gotta
safe
share
to
with
drive,
us. Sorry. Keep going. Bring some home for mommy and daddy.
okay. The point is that if you get yourself in a situation which you can't drive, call us. We'll come get you. And that's a safe space. And there's no repercussions for that. That's amnesty. And that has worked pretty well, regardless of you being a total dick about the last thing you said. So, Jeff, second, you need to teach and model empathy. Empathy is something that can be learned, and you as a parent need to show it. I know that there are some spaces in our culture right now in which empathy is frowned on and even said to be a weakness. So I want to say the following thing is, with as much empathy as I can, fuck that.
Agreed.
Empathy is a superpower, just like humility, and we need to learn and teach more of it.
Empathy is so much stronger. It takes so much more work. It takes so much more emotional strength to be empathetic and to not just be reactionary. If you really want to be just the highest form of an alpha man, be the most empathetic.
Yeah.
I know everybody touts that Jesus guy that I don't necessarily, believe in, but like Jesus was the ultimate empath. He wasn't cranking out 35-pound weights with big biceps. He was the ultimate display of empathy.
Yeah. And look, there's some concrete ways to do this. Teach empathy. That's a very high concept thing. When you watch a movie or a TV show with a kid, label the emotion. Ask your kid, how do you think that character is feeling? When you see a person in need, point it out. Discuss what you can do to help. And the simple acts of kindness make a big difference. And remind your child to treat others how they would want to be treated. We call that the golden rule, obviously. I go a step further and talk about the platinum rule, which even further increases empathy. And that is, treat others how they would want to be treated. So put yourself in their shoes. Exercise what we call a theory of mind. What is in that other person's head? That's true empathy building skills. Those are true empathy building skills.
I'm watching Bachelor in Paradise right now because it's just what I do. And there was a particular character where it was like, it was the golden rule. It was trying to be nice to them. And they were so confused at why someone didn't like that they were being nice to them. It's like, I'm trying to be nice to you. And it's like, but if that's not the way that someone wants to be treated, it doesn't matter what your intentions are.
Yeah.
Like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, well, I was just trying to do this. And it's like, no one cares.
Yeah, lots of people have heard about others' love languages. And that's a great phrase, and you should definitely get to know your partner's love language and all that kind of stuff. But there's also just like languages. Learn how your friends and how others want to be treated and treat them that way.
Mary and I have such different love languages. We're not good at the platinum rule. We're very good at the golden rule. And so I have to remember that when I want something, when I want like emotional support, but I'm getting a pie, that is Mary giving me emotional support. Like that is her version of emotional support. And it's the same sort of thing for her where like I give a certain thing and she's like, I would have rather had a pie. And it's like, well, that's not my way of giving. But we know each other. We've known each other so long that it's like, oh, even though it's not what I need, I see that there's an effort being made, and that effort makes me feel better. But it's hard. The platinum rule is really hard. That was number 2,
I've really doubled
Josh.
down on the platinum rule. I mean, I always, for my wife's birthday, I always get her a Star Wars Lego set. Always.
Nice. Anytime people ask, hey, what does your kid want for their birthday? Magnetiles. Definitely Magnetiles. Can't get enough Magnetiles.
Those things.
You said he there for a second, Jeff. Were you talking about yourself in third person? No. My daughter wants Magnetiles.
Totally does.
And a hydrofoil. All right, Josh, number 3.
Build your child's confidence and their social skills. We talked earlier in this episode and also on Monday that a lot of bullying behavior comes from a lack of self-esteem in the bully themselves. Bullying also begets bullying. So by helping your child grow their own self-esteem, you're going to help them have the ego strength to combat bullying, to not let it affect them as much, and to not bully themselves. Help them find activities that they enjoy and that they can build their confidence in. Help them find friend groups, or if not friend groups, activity groups, that they can do those activities with. And if your kid is the one that is bullying, those activities can help them find a positive outlet for their energy and a healthy sense of belonging that might help reduce some of that behavior.
Yeah, God, there was a kid at the park the other day. I felt so bad because he was essentially bullying, my daughter. I felt like I had to intervene because she was doing everything she could do. She was doing all the right things. Stop. I don't like that. Stay away from me. Give me space. She kept saying, give me space, which I was like hugely impressed with her. And I had to step between her and a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old and be like, dude, she said no. Like, you got to get away. And I saw the dad, and he like came over once, and then he did it again. And I looked at the dad. I was like, come on, man, he's doing it again. And his response was, he'll learn. And I was like, nope, not good enough. Not good enough. You got to get your kid out of there. And then I remembered it's easy to get angry. And so I thought about it with empathy. And so I removed her from the kid, and I went up later and I introduced myself to the dad. I was like, I've seen you around here a lot, man. I don't want us to get off on that foot. I'm Jeff. And he was like, hey, dude, I'm not going to say his name, but he was like, he's having some real hard times with talking. He's developmentally delayed when it comes to talking. And I'm a single dad. And I'm like, in the moment, this guy was just overwhelmed. He's just overwhelmed. And he's like, I can't police my kid 24/7. And the kid wasn't bullying. He was just like kind of hanging around in a way that made Windsor uncomfortable. But I was like, I don't want to be that guy who's just like, book this guy and book his kid. It was like, no, let's dig a little deeper. Let's figure this out. And now I'm like, I see the guy and I'm like, hey man, great to see you. His kid isn't bothering my kid as much, and we have a relationship now, but it takes that moment of like, oh, I'm so angry. And anybody that messes with my kid, I'm going to punt them into the street. No, it's just, I want Winsy to see me protecting her. I want my kids to see me protecting them. But you can also meet the moment with empathy. Anyway.
Wow. Yeah. Powerful.
Josh, I want to talk about villain origin stories because I think they're fascinating. And every person that I've met has some moment in their lives where they could have turned bad, and it would have been their villain origin story. And you just tipped off, I think, what mine was. When I was a kid, my brother would say at 8 o'clock, Jeff, you got to be quiet. Up until 8 is little kid time, and after 8 is big person winding down time. And that infuriated me so much. That could have easily become my villain origin story where all I wanted to do was take you down. And thank goodness we got over it, but 100%, that could have been the beginning of my villain origin story. You've also got a good one. Share your villain origin story with us.
Oh, all right, listeners and viewers. I'm 11. All I want for Christmas is the brand new Nintendo Entertainment System. You'll remember it, the gray box with the 2 controllers on which you could play Super Mario Brothers or Excite Bike. And that's all I wanted. It was the only thing on my Christmas list. My 4.5-year younger brother, right around December 10th, got braces. And look, 6.5 is pretty young to get braces. I get it. And I'm sure they did hurt. But this motherfucker was like, Mommy and Daddy, my braces hurt so badly. The only thing to take my mind off it is going to be the Nintendo Entertainment System. So they ran right out and got this little motherfucker the Nintendo Entertainment System. And then they told him, you don't have to let your older brother play it if you don't want to. And that fucker.
That part of the story.
No, this story is not over. That little fucker held that thing over me until this day, quite honestly. Now, listeners and viewers, flash forward 2 years, and I'm entering 8th grade. The day before I go to 8th grade, I get braces. And do you know what my parents got me on the same day I got braces?
Glasses. My Nintendo system?
Fucking glasses. So I went into 8th grade with brace face and 4 eyes for the first time, and that's what I got instead of the Nintendo Entertainment System.
You were not one of the cool kids in middle school.
And that could have been my villain origin story. To be honest, it still might be.
It still might be. I think one day you were going to crack about that. But yeah, so share your villain origin story with us. As ridiculous as it is, the more ridiculous, the better. We'd love to hear what your villain origin story was as well. Okay, you haven't even made it through your top 5 yet, or your 5 things parents.
All right, so number 4. So let's say your kid is getting bullied. It's probably at school. The next step is work with the school. Okay, when bullying happens,
Okay.
and it's going to start with the teacher. They're often the first point of contact, can monitor the situation, contact the administration, know your school's policy about bullying. And if they don't have one, and they do, but if they don't have a good one, work with them to change it. So work with the school. Most schools have specific anti-bullying policies, and document everything so that you can get the help and the support that you and your kid needs. Hopefully you've armed them with good self-esteem. Hopefully you've armed them with the ability to come to you and talk to you about it. I wish we could say all bullying was able to be prevented and that it wouldn't happen, but it's going to. I'm not necessarily sure that some bullying isn't good for kids.
Right. You've said this
in
before.
that
Yeah.
you learn to deal with it and you learn the positive
Right.
ways to deal with it. Because I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it completely. And I wouldn't want, age 30 in a workplace to be the first time that someone has to figure out how to navigate bullying.
Yeah, and that's the insidious part about it, Josh. And that's what I thought after adolescence is like we can't really try and combat the bullying because we don't have any control over that. The thing that we have control over is how we react to the bullying. And I don't think that anybody's going to avoid getting bullied. And so the things that we can do are try and arm our kids with the skills to get through the bullying and to process the bullying. We need to specifically be looking at that. We need to specifically be talking about it, especially now, Josh, and I just want you to talk to this. Online bullying. How do we arm our kids? How do we protect against that?
Well, we do all the things that we've been talking about already. You take the additional
Right.
steps of you really need to be involved in what your kids are viewing and what your kids are seeing. You need to use the tools available to you to control your kids' online behavior if they're not old enough to control it themselves. I would argue that they're likely not able to control it themselves until they're in their late teens. Even then, we're not 100% sure what the long-term consequences of exposure to social media are. So think really carefully about when you get your kid their smartphone. I don't know of a single parent who's ever told me that they wish they'd gotten their kid their phone earlier, but you have to stay involved. And I know how daunting that is, as ubiquitous and insidious as social media is. You have to stay involved. You have to be monitoring this.
Yeah, and not just monitoring, but like I was thinking about, because you said this before, you said this during adolescence, and it's obviously great advice, but I was thinking about like, you have to be a part of it. It's not just a matter of like, while I stay kind of abreast, I look at what they're doing. I think you do have to be in those lobbies with them, in those game lobbies. Like, I think if they're going to be interested in something, you've got to get interested in it as well. Like, you need to experience what they're experiencing. Understand the way the game works. Understand the way the platform works. Have a Snap account. In some ways, we do this all the time as writers. Think like a villain. Think like a bully.
Yeah.
And think about like the different ways that you would bully somebody on this platform so that you can help your kids, figure out how to cope with those things, how to recognize it, and absolutely make sure that you have cultivated the type of relationship where if they are getting bullied, they can come to you. And I'm really speaking to dads here, but like if your kid gets their feelings hurt, they need to trust that it's safe to come to you.
Yeah. And so the last one, the fifth thing that I would recommend is when you need to seek professional help from a therapist or a counselor for your kid who's being bullied or your kid who is having the bullying behavior. You're likely going to talk about what we've already talked about, their self-esteem, their anxiety, and depression. And the therapist can help you uncover some of the underlying reasons for their behavior and teach them healthy ways to express themselves and manage their feelings.
Yeah. Okay, Josh, rifle that 5 off for me.
Jeff, we've got maintaining honest and open communication, teaching and modeling empathy, building your child's confidence and social skills. When bullying happens, work with the school, and seek professional help when needed.
Yeah, and I can't even begin to stress how just like you got to do this. These are things that you just have to do. Like bullying has gotten so bad. We're moving so fast. The pace of life is increasing so much. Kids are getting so much information so fast. It's so easy to lose track, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in things that are really unhealthy. There's these just rabbit holes that kids can go down that we did not have when we were kids, and we have to learn that their experience is not our experience. And so it's like, well, I learned to deal with it. It's not the same. It is just not the same. This is truly a new world. It's a new world from 1993 on, which was as soon as we had email, it's been exponential growth of this new digital world.
Correct.
So, we have to stay involved. Josh, I feel like that was a pretty good conversation about bullying.
Yeah.
We covered everything I wanted to cover. I mean, fuck Regina George for being a bully. And as you said earlier, bad on the teachers for doing the bullying behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned that moment where like the teachers let her down and the parents let her down. And I was thinking about the moment where, she needed to go pee. And they were like, no. Man, no human being should stop another human being from going pee.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you need to pee, you need
Well,
to
Jeff, they can't stop you from going pee. They can just tell you where you're going to do it. So,
Right.
Jeff, do you have anything else to say about this topic? Because if you don't...
Josh, well, I think we covered it. I think we covered bullying. You have a top 5 for us this week. And this is exciting because I know nothing about it. So launch in for us,
All right,
buddy.
Jeff. This week's top 5 list that nobody asked for riffs on our topic. I'm going to give you the top 5 movie bullies of all time.
Oh, perfect.
All right.
Okay. Any honorable mentions in our top 5 movie bullies of all time?
I am going to say the entire class from the 1976 adaptation of the Stephen King book Carrie. They turn Carrie into a telekinetic monster. And so they get my honorable mention.
Wow. If that's your honorable mention, these must be some bullies.
You ready?
I'm ready. Give me number 5.
Well, coming at number 5 is Ms. Regina George. We've already covered her.
Okay, sure.
She's from Mean Girls. Enough said.
All right, Regina George, number 5. Who's worse than Regina, Josh? Who's number 4?
Jeff, let's go with Chet Donnelly from Weird Science. Bill Paxton's performance as the military-minded older brother is a masterclass in domestic bullying. He's a terrifyingly realistic and over-the-top tormentor who uses intimidation and physical threats, as well as psychological abuse to make his younger brother's life a living hell.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I think I was too young for that movie.
Oh.
All right, number 3.
Number 3 would be Fred O'Banion from Dazed and Confused. He's the sadistic fifth-year senior played by a young Ben Affleck who takes hazing to the extreme. He's armed with a wooden paddle, and he relentlessly hunts down incoming freshmen, gleefully enjoying their fear and pain.
Good one. All right, number 2.
Number 2 is Biff Tannen from Back to the Future.
Yeah, Biff's got to be on there. Sure,
He's the ultimate bully whose act transcends time.
The quintessential bully.
Quintessential.
Is
Yeah, he's not just a bully to George McFly in 1955, but his lineage of Tannen bullies torments the McFly family across generations. Hello, anybody home? Think, McFly, think. Fantastic bully.
Yeah, even though they're good at one-upping him, he's still like the quintessential bully. He's like who you think of when you think like bully. I love it. So if he was number 2, who's number 1?
Jeff, he's number 1 because although he's a great bully, there's also a redemption story here, and I like that. So the number 1 movie bully for me was Johnny Lawrence from The Karate Kid. Johnny's the perfect foil for underdog Daniel LaRusso. He's the golden boy, the leader of the Cobra Kai dojo. His signature sneer and memorable no mercy philosophy make him a cultural icon. Now, he's my favorite because he gets redemption in the Cobra Kai series, and he becomes a hero. I really like that because it does show in the series that his bullying was underpinned by anxiety, lack of a father figure, depression, and he makes good on his promise. So that's my list of your top 5 movie bullies.
Josh, that's a great list. I don't have any issues with anybody that's on there. There's a really great YouTube video explaining how he's actually like the hero and that Daniel is actually the jerk. And they make a really compelling case. Because, Johnny is like, he's very reserved. He doesn't beat up Daniel when he has the chance at the fire. He only reacts and beats up Daniel after Daniel essentially assaults him with pouring the water on his head. Despite all of Daniel then kind of mocking him throughout the rest of the movie, he's like, I got to wait for the fight. So he shows
restraint.
Yeah, he shows restraint. It's a pretty interesting take on it.
That was a running gag in the How I Met Your Mother series in which the Barney character continued to claim that Johnny Lawrence was actually the hero until the actor who played Johnny Lawrence made a cameo late in the series.
Yeah. One that I think could have been in there. I don't have any issue with the list. I don't think you missed anybody. I think we could have gone with Draco Malfoy.
Oh, sure.
I think he could have been a good one. If we want to go TV, I think the ultimate bully of all time is Joffrey, but we're just doing cinema. And then maybe Buzz McAllister, Kevin McAllister's older brother in Home Alone.
Sure, that would have been a good choice as well. Yeah,
but I don't have any issue with that list. And if anything, Buzz is like a Biff in training. Yeah. So I think you covered it with Biff. But no, I think that's a great list. Thank you again for that top 5 list of movie bullies that nobody asked for. I love that we cover ourselves where it's like, nobody asked for this. We know nobody asked for it. We're fully aware that nobody asked for this list. We're right there with you.
Hey guys, here's the list nobody asked for. Yeah, totally.
Okay, Josh, that was great. Really glad to cover bullying again. I don't think we can cover it enough. I love covering possession and psychopathy, but I don't know that that's all that helpful. I do think that covering bullying as much as we can is it's massively important. Thanks as always for watching or listening to Cinemental and our coverage of Mean Girls. If you like this episode, please subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. You can also watch clips of Cinemental on YouTube, where we would love to hear what you would like us to cover next. You can also watch my companion series, The One Thing, where I take a deeper dive into screenwriting, which I am going to do a Mean Girls episode on. Both available on the Large and in Charge channel on YouTube. Follow Dr. Josh Jones, America's Psychiatrist, on Blue Sky. This has been a Large and in Charge production. For Josh Jones, I am Jeff Jones, and we will see you next week.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.